the dream that most people are looking for is very ego and egocentric. So this is at a complete juxtaposition to, as you said, to melting into the fabric of life and surrendering more to that process. So it's almost like society and modern current culture is telling us ego. It's telling it, you can have it all, you can be it all. Yet, like, the more we can melt into the fabric of life and surrender our ego, probably the more harmonious and probably the more present life is going to be.
Absolutely. Well, I think what you just described was what Lao Tzu, the originator of Taoism, called Wu Wei, which is effortless action, which is action without intent. So, and a lot of people confuse this with lack of ambition, but it's actually not true. It's actually just moving through life with the grain of the wood, and not against the grain of the wood.
Oh, I like that. The grain of the wood. That's nice. With the wind at your back as opposed to into the wind.
Exactly. Yeah. It's planting in rich soil instead of trying to inject endless chemical fertilizers and glyphosate into arid, degraded soil. There's a million metaphors that you could pull from it, but that, and don't confuse it with lack of ambition. People can still want to instantiate better quality of life and greater well-being without necessarily being so attached to the outcomes all the time. And so, we all, you guys have ambitions, I have ambitions, and those are good. And our ambitions are generally aligned with our highest principles. And that isn't a life of integrity. But let's not be so attached to the outcomes, because the more attached we become to the outcomes, the more attached we can become to this symbol of the ego of like, well, I'm only successful if I have this, or, am judged in this particular way. And this is the pitfalls of the ego that tells us, we are what we have, we are what people think of us, we are what we accumulate, et cetera. So, and then I think, to your other point of that culture has created a paradigm in which happiness is always something out there, like within our grasp, but not within our heart. And so we, again, back to Buddhism, that this idea of suffering is based around trishna, or unquenchable thirst, unquenchable craving. And there's an image in Buddhism in the Wheel of Life called the hungry ghost, that we end up becoming these beings with huge appetites and massive stomachs, but tiny little mouths, as if we just sipping out of a minuscule straw. And that keeps us in this constant state of,
I want more.
More.
Dementors.
And the moment that we achieve that thing or obtain that particular goal, well, we get sort of a momentary biochemical, surge of dopamine or whatever it might be. But then some glittery, shiny object appears on the horizon, and the gap between what we have and what we want opens up again into a chasm. And so then one way of then finding happiness, well, is to continue to chase that thing out there and then achieve it or obtain it. And then again, it gapes open. But that is what's called the hedonic treadmill, because we never obtain the thing out there, because there's always another thing to crave and to cling to. And one of the great Stoic meditations or contemplations is to love and to want what you already have. So there's actually a meditation around this, which is you fixate or you focus on something that you have, that you treasure. That's something that is like a family heirloom or I don't know, could be like your favorite worn in flannel or whatever it happens to be, a relationship that you have in your life. And you focus in on that, on something that you truly cherish that is within your life. And then this initially sounds a bit morose, but it's not. But you imagine then losing that thing that you cherish. And you sit in that for a moment, in that pain and in that grief. And then you come back to the realization that you actually have that thing. And that meditation elicits a sense of incredible gratitude, of thankfulness for what is in your life. And you stop fixating on the thing out there, and you end up loving what you already have.